today's tutorial, I'd like to talk about spectator camera and also the concept of possess. So first, in a VR scenario here, you'll see that in the default template there is a VR spectator. You might also notice in the game mode, usually you have a category called spectator class. So I'd like to talk a little bit how this could be helpful when you are developing a scenario. And also, I like to talk a little bit how you can create this kind of third-person view, kind of like a CCTV camera, and where you can monitor the environment. So this is actually a capture from this spectator view. So if I move the camera, you can see this CCTV screen gonna update. Okay, so that is the concept of spectator. But before I talk about this, how to develop using the VR template, I do want to quickly mention the concept of possess. So this is one of the older tutorial I made a couple of years ago. Discussed how you can actually possess multiple avatars, so you can jump from one to another. In Unreal, it gives you this kind of ability to control multiple avatars. You can choose any of them as your player control. This concept is also pretty straightforward if you ever used, for example, any of these pawn. If I'm using, for example, the third person pawn, when I drag the pawn here in the in the environment, in the details, you can see there is an option called possess. This is actually called, I think it's called spawn pawn. Okay, and here you have the option to auto possess a player. So have the player 0 is your default. So now if I possess player 0, Unreal will ignore whatever the game mode is and using the third person as my player 0. Okay, so this is a possess can be used to override the default setting in the game mode. Okay, so I will delete this. I will just talk quickly how this could be useful for us in the game development. So I will talk about this in the concept of a third-person PC VR, right? So you have the keyboard. You are able to use keyboard to get away from the third person. Then you will have your view looks like a drone. The drone will look around the third person. Then you can use another hotkey to make the drone going back to the third person. So let me just play. You can get a brief idea. Here, my game mode is third person. If I play, I have this third person view. Basically, this third person is just simply, move around in the environment. Okay. So now, if I'm using the tab key on the keyboard, I basically create a drone, which is in exactly the same location of the follow camera. So I can make the drone fly away. I can get really close. I can look around. I can get into the room. Right. So this is actually give you the freedom you can fly. If I'm using the tab key again, I'm going back to the third person view. So here I have my wheel. I can follow. I can, follow the camera, follow the robot. But in some case, if I wanna become a drone again using the tab, then I can use, ASWD to move away. Okay, so this is one of the applications using the possess to control another camera. So I will show you really quick how this can be done. First, you need to go to your third person view, third person game mode, and then you click the default pawn, and this is your third person, right? Double click, you can see the robots right here. So the first thing I do is here I wanna using input. This input is called spectator active toggle. This is actually one of the default, because I want to save time, I didn't really create a new one. So in the project settings, in the input, I just using the one of this default, I think it's called spectator active toggle, and this is the tab key. This can also be operated when you're using the gamepad. It's a face button. Okay, so when I press tab, basically I can communicate into this third person character. So first thing I do is I want to spawn an actor, right? So you can using this node, spawn actor basically will ask you, hey, what objects you want to generate, right? So in this case, I want to generate a drone, right? A new spectator camera looks like a drone. So the way to do that is you can right click, you can create a new blueprint class, and here you can type all classes, just type spectator, and have this option called spectator pawn, and then click OK. So that's how you create this pawn. I already did this. I named this as name is drone. So I double click. You can see this guy has one of the component is called a movement, and you can have a way to control the speed, acceleration, deceleration, how quick you can turn around. So all of these values is built in this spectator pawn. Really nice. It also has a collision. Okay, so that is the first thing you want to make sure you create this spectator camera class right here. Then go back to the third person. I'm going to spawn a new actor, and here in the drop list, I'm going to just click drone, right, as my target. So basically, create a spectator drone as your spawned character. And also here, the collision, I choose try to adjust location, but always spawn. Right? And for the spawn transform, I basically just using my follow camera, which is the camera follow the third person. I drag this follow camera right here. I get the word transform. I linked these values into the spawn transform. So the drone will spawn exactly in the same location as your follow camera. That's it, right? And then the last one is you want to make sure you possess this new drone as your default player controller. So basically the keyboard, the input is able to interact with the drone. The drone gonna become your default view. You will have the keyboard to control its movement. Right? So this is how the drone is being activated while using toggle. But you also want to think about how you're gonna deactivate, right, or remove this drone when you press the toggle again. So this logic is done through the actually the drone blueprint class, this actor. So in this actor, besides all the movement values, right, I have this event graph where you can add in some extra logic. So this logic is really simple. Using the input action spectator active toggle, which is tab key. When the tab key clicked, released, then I get all actors. I want to find the person in this view, and then I will go ahead get the first. This is index 0 because it is possible you have multiple in the scenario, right? So I want to just get the first one. Then I want to possess. So basically, this tell the computer, hey, the drone is should be deactivated. I want this going back to possess the third player. I do actually want to add one more node is to destroy the drone, because if you don't do it, each time you press a tab, it generates a new drone, but you are not really kill the drone. So I will just say destroy, right? So destroy actor, I will destroy itself. So the drone will self deconstruction will disappear. So let's try that. So compile, save. So now if you pay attention to the list of objects, right? So let's go ahead and play. You definitely see this yellow color means this is a new actor generated during the fly. So you have this sort of person character game mode camera actor, right? So now I can look around. If I press tab, it should generate this kind of new drone, right? I can't really see it here. but is in the list, right? If I press tab again, the drone will be destroyed, right? And then you're going back to the default third person palm. So here in the list, you actually never see the drone show up because it is spawned during the runtime, and then it will be destroyed after you press the tab key for the second time. So you actually never see it in the list. Just want to make sure. Yeah. Okay. I think that's it about how to create this spectator drone for the sort of person for the PC VR. So if you understand this whole logic, then we can quickly talk about this VR spectator. It's very similar logic. So let's go ahead, browse to asset and talk a little bit. So this is a VR camera, spectator camera located in the VR spectator folder. This is a part of the default template come from the Unreal 5. And also you have this called VR spectator render target, which is a texture. What I did is I simply right click, generate a material, which is this guy. And this material is basically link the two-dimension texture into the base color. So this is always display what you can see through this spectator camera. Then I just simply say, well, then I simply attached this material to this TV screen, right? So the TV screen will basically display whatever views in this spectator camera. So you can see definitely is updating when I move this camera. Okay, that's really cool if you want to do any CCTV like result, right? And then let's take a look at the logic of this spectator camera. So double click. In the viewport, you can see this is just basically very similar like the spectator cameras. And here you have the values you can control, for example, the rotation, the movement, speed. So it's very similar. And also you have this called event graph, and where you can add some extra logic, right? In the default template, it already has really good logic. I don't want to dig too much into it. Basically, I just tell the camera, hey, when the event, when the toggle, right, input being pressed, the tab key, you will do this. When the tab key second time, you do this. Right? So it's disable or enable VR spectator. Okay, and you can definitely look into these functions. For example, double click enable VR spectator. You see the logic right here. Going back, if you double click disable, you can see the logic here, right? So I would prefer do not change the code because this is part of the uh, template. I think I would rather not to manipulate its original function. But I do add this new function right here. I added this called disable no VR. So basically, this is a checkpoint to see if your game mode is VR or not. Right. So right now I'm using the sort of person character mode. So in this case, if I check disable no VR function, you can see this is the logic. It will see, hey, what is our current game mode, right? You get the name of the game mode. Then I will evaluate if this name contains VR game mode, this string. So the answer is yes or no, right? You're using a branch to evaluate. If the VR game mode is the current game mode, so that is true, return to the node. So that means the logic will proceed. If it's not the VR game mode, for example, the third person or first person mode, then this is false. I will destroy the actor. What that means is you destroy yourself, and this VR spectator camera will be destroyed. The reason I do this is because if you don't destroy it when you do the third person, the keyboard WASD is actually not going to work because the input is somehow banded into the VR spectator camera. So the easier solution is just get rid of it if you see the game mode is not a VR game mode. Okay, I can still using the toggle, I can still doing fly the drone, right? But if it is the VR game mode, we got rid of the drone thing. So if it is the VR game mode, then you want to actually keep the VR spectator camera. So that is the logic here. If it's true, then I will initiate the input, which means later you can use the WASD to keyboard to control the drone, control the spectator camera, and then you can initiate the field of view. Then you can have the logic move on to enable the VR spectator. So that's the logic behind. So I will do a quick demo how this could be used. Basically you start with this first-person VR mode, right? Start from your player start, but once you press the tab key, you are able to jump the view from your VR view into the spectator view. In the spectator view, you can still see the VR characters. So it's a really great way to see what's the motion controllers function in real time. And also from the VR view, you can actually see the CCTV screen. You can see how the spectator view is updating. You can sort of see yourself in a CCTV camera. Okay, so let's do a demo how this could work. Okay, so here we go. I already activate the Oculus link. Okay, and then I connected the VR to this Unreal. You can see the VR preview. I will go ahead do a demo to do a standalone game. Oh, sorry. I should change my game mode to VR game mode. So let's undo it. Yeah, because right now it's still the third person. So let me just exit. Okay. Maybe give an error message. Close without sending. Just make sure I change this right back to VR game mode, because I want to test the VR Pong. So that's good. Then I will go ahead launch the standalone game. Okay. Going to compile some code. Then I should be able to see everything through my VR headset. Okay, it's right there. So now, if I use a headset, right, I can see the environment. I can see my controller. I'm able to, teleport. But here, if you really look into the CCTV camera, you can actually see myself. I can, for example, grab this character and wave. You can actually see that on the CCTV camera. Right? So this is controlled by the spectator camera. And also, if I go ahead using the tab key, I can actually switch the view on my screen into this spectator view. So now I'm still wearing my headset, but I can use the WASD. I should be able to get really close to my headset. Right? So you can see my headset is right there. So that's really, really cool. I'm able to, for example, with hands, play. So here's my head. I can, grab this, just throw that in the air. I can definitely grab that, put it here, and I can grab this couple sculpture. I can put it here, right? So this is all be visible. If I look at the screen, the CCTV is out there. So it's really, really cool. It's falling down, but that's okay. And if I'm using the tab key again, I can switch back to my first person view, right? You can definitely see that everything is there. The spectator camera is really close to me. So now if I'm using the tab key again, switch to the camera. If I move camera forward, down a little bit, I can also using my mouse to rotate the camera. Right. So the camera is updating. I can see the CCTV camera is updating too. Yeah. It's pretty cool. Again, I can use my mouse. I can get really close. Yeah, I can directly facing you, and I can use a camera to wave. I can also standing up. But you can see that's how this interact with. Okay, I think that's it about how this spectator view can be a part of the one allow you to have this multi-user experience and everything on the the CCTV screen. You can actually see how that could be activated. All right, great. I think that's it. Let me exit this. Okay, give me the error message again, but that's okay. Yeah, I hope this will be helpful for you to understand this spectator camera and how this can be create a CCTV experience and how I can see the VR player from this kind of third-person view. In my opinion, this is a really fantastic way you can observe the VR experience. Last step you want to do is actually to publish this into a Windows package. The reason is we are not doing the mobile VR anymore, right? This is the PC VR. We are using the keyboard, right? Toggle to tab to toggle to the spectator view. So you definitely need to a PC VR, not a mobile VR. So when you do the packaging, you will define a location, then you click select folder, it will go through all the packaging. This will take for a while if this is the first time you do the Windows, because it's going to recompile a lot of stuff. So to save time, I will just show you what is the final result after you package into Windows. So here, let me see, I already packaged before this demo. You can see it's right here, it's 27 Windows, right? And this is basically the executable file application compiled after 10 minutes packaging. So if I double click, I should be able to launch this directly into VR. I will actually, I don't need the internet access. Then I will go ahead, wear the headset, right? And you can see definitely the same interface. Because it is a PC VR, definitely the rendering quality is much better. You can tell if I teleport, the lighting, it just seems a little bit higher resolution. Yeah, also I'm able to trigger this sequence. You see the boy start to dance. These objects will go down after a few minutes. And I'm able to get out. Let's get to the zone close to the camera. So here that is a spectator camera. So why not I just going back to this table. Then I'm going to switch using the tab key. So now you can using the WASD, right? You can get close to my first person. I can use the Q and E to adjust the height. Right, so that is really close. And also you can use mouse to change the view. Right? So basically you can observe how I will be able to interact with these objects. If I wave my hand, you should be able to see my motion controllers right here. Right? So if I go ahead, grab this boy, I can put him right here, close to the view. I'll make it far away. I can put this sculpture right here. Right? So this is all there as real time. So super cool. Yeah. Put it right here, and also the box. Okay, cool. Put the boy on the box. Right. And also, if I'm teleporting, you can actually see I'm teleporting around. I can go to different location. I can grab this as well, teleport. So I'm holding this really big one here, you can see. So now if I switch back to my first person view, right, and you can definitely see the spectator camera is really close to me. um, right, so this is how this is updating. And also tab key again, I can see this from the spectator's perspective. So I'm teleporting back here. Yeah, you should be able to see me wave hands there. Okay, I think that's it. This is how you can get this really cool um, spectator views from real time. Go ahead, quit.